Just as in the case of the coupling, of course, there's an ultraviolet 1 over epsilon that you subtract when you define the coupling if you're doing this dimensional regularization. Similarly, there's subtraction that essentially absorbs the remaining singularities, which are collinear singularities, absorbs those remaining singularities into the definition of what's meant by the Poisson distribution function. So in the same way that the physical coupling is defined as the infinitely short distance coupling with some infinity absorbed into it, then the physical PDFs are defined as some infinitely short distance object with infinity absorbed into it. When you do that, then in fact, you will get a finite answer. So the combination of KLT and what is referred to as factorization ensures, KLM, KLT. Right you are. Yeah, KLT referred to colloidal element tie, which is also a very beautiful word, but not relevant to this particular question. So KLN and factorization ensures that we get finite answers in QCD if, and this is really where we have to be careful, if we measure for compute. We always, of course, get finite measurements. We start measuring the answer if we compute so-called infrared and collinear space observables. This is usually abbreviated just infrared space, but infrared can be referring to the soft alone or referring to the soft collinear together. So what's the basic idea of this requirement? Clearly, for example, if we were measuring the number of partons in the final state, well, that's not something that's going to be infrared space, because even if they become arbitrarily collinear or the one becomes arbitrarily soft, it's still going to count as a 2 instead of a 1. So that's an example of something that's clearly not infrared space. Infrared space means that as we go into these regions, which are the regions that we have to exclude from the 3 parton calculation because we're giving an answer, those configurations have to be indistinguishable from the configurations that are really just QQ configurations. So the observable cannot distinguish, it cannot measure an arbitrarily collinear or arbitrarily soft 1 or 4. In other words, if we have some observable, whatever you may like, T, jet counting, whatever, it has to satisfy the following constraint, that it has to reduce to an observable with n partons whenever we get a collinear configuration. Generally speaking, whenever any quark is collinear to a gluon, or quark is collinear to an antiquark, or an antiquark is collinear to a gluon, the 2 gluons are collinear, or when any gluon becomes soft. That's the basic idea. Now, in some cases, this is it's not necessarily trivial, but it's straightforward to demonstrate that. So, for example, something that is safe is a jet cross section evaluated using the anti-KT algorithm that we discussed earlier. If we imagine taking some inclusive electron KT spectrum, so that's IRC space. And of course, many other examples, it's very easy to look up along with it. So, and then there's clearly things that are clearly IRC unsafe. Would include things like looking at the charge multiplicity distribution. So just count up the charge tracks and look at another KT spectrum or just a number or something like that. Clearly there we can have a gluon splitting into a quark antiquark pair. Those the charge tracks are going to change this count, and that's going to show you the arbitrary collinear. Another example, which I hope is clear. So with the completely isolated photon, we don't really have time to discuss how it is you define photons in the collider, but basically you can imagine having a cone surrounding the photon, just in the same way as Pastor jets. And clearly, if that cone is full of gluons and quarks, or in other words, in experimental cases, it's full of hadrons, it's not really a photon. A photon wants to be something where there's some very hard photon and maybe a little bit of radiation around it, ions, stuff like that. And so you might think, well, why don't we just prevent anything from being in that cone outside around those? Well, that's infrared unsafe. It's infrared unsafe precisely because you're going to spoil this cancellation. Well, if you can't impose that in the virtual corrections, if you impose that in the real emission corrections, you're going to end up with an infinite cross section. You're going to spoil the cancellation. So that's something frequently unsafe. There's also a lot of examples, and some of these are quite subtle, and it took people many years to realize that. Some things that are more subtle, now that it's been understood, maybe not so subtle, but some of that would be, for example, the vector boson KT distribution, the boson at PT equals 0. And another example are factor jet algorithms that were used by the PDF and the observable. This is the jet clue, and this is the zero midpoint algorithm. Those turn out to have flaws in them that mean that starting some number of jets varies a little bit depending on what else is in the event and what is going on. But this algorithm, for example, of the 3-jet production turns out to be infrared unsafe. It has to do with the details of the way that feeds I'll show you. So that's an example of something very subtle. So someone comes up with some new observable, then it sometimes can demand a very subtle analysis to see whether it's actually infrared safe or unsafe. So it's not something that you want to just take for granted. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the introductory part. Just to give you a little bit of context for what we're doing, and a little bit of motivation why we should do some of the things that we're going to do. And also some of the things that we're going to be looking out for, and some of the things that are very useful as cross-checks. Because if you've done some calculations, some sanity checks are always useful. So one of the things you can realize here is that if you know something about the real addition calculation, you can check the infinite singularities over here. And conversely, if you know the infinite singularities over here, which as it turns out, most these lectures you do on general ground, then you can check to make sure that you're resembling the real addition corrections across these. Infinite singularities are dangerous, but if you treat them nicely, they become your friends. You take advantage of them. So our goal is to learn or relearn how to do these tree-level and loop-level calculations. And that's what we're going to do using Austal methods. Of course, for these simple processes, 2 to 2 or even 2 to 3, you can simply go ahead and use Feynman diagrams or them into the computer when you want to do these by hand or very challenging calculations. But these days, you can just push a button. And I'm sure everyone has seen the CCG Feynman rules before. I'm not going to go through them in any detail, but I'm just going to flash them on the transparency so that I can refer back to their structure a little bit later. I'm assuming everyone here has seen these before and studied these before, so someone who hasn't, that's a very embarrassing way to ask a question. Who has seen these before? All right, actually, look carefully to because everyone has. Fine. So, there's, of course, a propagator just by colors. There's a 4-point vertex, which is low and right, basically just to restore manifest gauge experience to the level of Lagrangian. Remember the form is cyclically symmetric, and ultimately we're, of course, going to address this by dotting into external polarization vectors, upon which we're going to have 2 kinds of terms, a polarization vector dotted into itself and a polarization vector dotted into the rest. And so that's what I want you to remember over here. Now, the 1-point functions, and I would certainly imagine just going ahead and calculating them. The problem is, of course, we have to go out to, I'm interested in going out to numbers of jets. We have 4, 5, 6 jets. And of course, we have 2 gluons in the initial state, so if we want to do 5 jet production, we're looking at a 7-point process. If we want to do 6 jet production, then we're looking at an 8-point process. And just to remind you, to give you an idea of some of these numbers, then we can look at the number of Feynman graphs we would need to do. So if we're looking at 6, then tree level is something like 34,000 diagrams. Well, not a big deal. Of course, there's a lot of terms, and the 4 points over in particular produce a lot of them. And I think if, we sort of get to something I think on the order of 25 of those terms. Well, that's not a big deal. If we go to 1 loop, then it's a little bit more serious because we're now looking at the order of 3 million diagrams, and that is going to produce the order of 20 billion terms. So 2 times 10 to the 10th. And it's an amusing fact, but there's about 10 to the 11th neurons in your brain. So you only have about 5 neurons for every term in this calculation. So it's not something that I think most people can do on that again, but or certainly in their heads. Okay, it's a complicated calculation, you get a complicated answer, and then you can start it pairs. The point, and we'll see examples of it already in this tree level later on in this lecture, is that the answers are often very simple. There's a sister theory to CCG, which one of you are actually working on in for symmetric gauge theory, in which some of these answers, to 6 or to 9 or to 10, you can write down a single line. So if you have a calculation with 20 billion terms or 100 times that many terms, you get a single line answer. That's a sign you're doing something wrong. Because the code that is attributed to Feynman actually, you say, you have a simple result, you have a simple derivation. And basically, the rest of these lectures are devoted to explaining to you how simple results can have a simple derivation, and how that simple derivation gives you the tools to do much more complicated calculations. So the other point to make about these 25 million or 20 billion terms that are coming out of the Feynman diagram, because the answers are very simple, it means that if you pick any single Feynman diagram out of these 3 billion, then if you think about certain information, there's almost no information in there. That diagram is mostly noise. And that noise is coming because there's all this gauge variation and gauge varying states that are running around. So if we want to, and all this noise, of course, cancels at the end of the day, leading us to the signal, which is a single line answer. So if we want to filter out that noise, it's really impossible calculation. And to filter out that noise, we need to filter out all the gauge variation. And the way to go ahead and do it is to work as much as possible with on-shell quantities. On-shell quantities that don't have all the gauge redundancy dosage. Now, that doesn't mean that in some amplitude there's not effectively going to be lines off-shell. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be virtual particles circulating around later on. But we're going to learn everything about the contributions from objects where everything is on-shell, where all the gauge variation is squeezed out. So we're switching up in that sense on the answer. And the things that we have to do in order to do these computations is set up a certain amount of machinery. And I think most of that machinery, Sir Paolo has already talked about very shortly, so I'm just going to do a lightning review of it, actually just list the results on the board. And if I'm nitpicking and there's actually something we haven't covered, then I'm sure you'll stop me. And we'll explain it more. So the basic object, of course, that we're starting with is we're looking first at tree level. And we've already seen that before we can talk about the next leading order corrections, before we can talk about the loop corrections, we need to understand the tree level corrections. And yes, it's true there are technologies for doing this that are actually quite efficient, but it's very illuminating to understand how this works in an on-shell way. And in fact, in some respects, it also gives you some efficient representations for numerical use. So we start with an amplitude, which in case as we write it down, function of a triplet, a color index, polarization vector, and a momentum. And that object we can do a color decomposition. Again, the structure that I'm writing here is specific to mode 1, but they're analogous structures when you first have the form pairs. Of course, in n equals 4 supersymmetry, then the structure will be the same depending on the nodes of the core. So we're going to have a sum over non-cyclic permutations. So Sn is the permutation group on symbols. Cn is the cyclic rotation group divided out by the cyclic permutations. We can decompose the amplitude in so-called color decomposition. And we have a so-called color factor times a level color order amplitude. So in fact, this still has redundant information because we don't actually care about all polarizations. We know that the quarks come two velocities. Sticking to math, of course, here for pedagogical purposes. The rule on both of them is two physical velocities, and ultimately this function is a function only of those velocities, actually of one bit per external particle, and the momentum variables. The other ingredient, so this you saw this morning, right? Okay. The other thing that the others are a technical tool we need to introduce are spinor variables. And so we have complex two-component vectors, and we can write a momentum. We can dot momentum into the Pauli matrices between a 2x2 matrix representation, and that 2x2 matrix representation we can write an outer product of two spinors, and the notation here is the following. Supersymmetric notation A being A2, the configuration index from 1 to 2, and A dot independent 1 to 2 index, and the various notations that are used. So I'm going to probably favor the raw intent notation for the spinors, and we have plus and minus the velocity correspond to the ordinary discrete spinors, and of course we have the spinor product, which has the actual method of writing the labels, and they come in two flavors, the angle bracket and the ordinary bracket, and the product of these things is precisely such that you get the electric variance. So each of these is complex, and if we're using real momenta, then their product is real. In fact, they're complex conjugates up to the sign of the energy component of the momentum. So again, this is something we saw this morning. The one other thing I want to emphasize or re-emphasize is that we can define an angle basically by because the momentum calculus such an appropriate linear combination of the transverse components with some arbitrarily chosen z-axis. So k plus and k minus is the usual kind of like combinations. And with that, then we can write down an explicit numerical formula for signs right here. So we can write down an explicit formula for the spinor product, of course, the equivalent one for the bracket product. And this is something that you can put on a computer, you can compute numerically. It's not just an abstract object that you manipulate analytically. And moreover, this is the efficient way of doing trace sums. There's a lot of calculations that you might be tempted to square and come over with these analytically on a computer. Don't do that. Evaluate it using spinors at the amplitude level and square it numerically. You have traces of gamma matrices that you have to evaluate by percentage. You use the formula that's fine, and the back of Hessian or protein scramblers or whatever other field theory textbook you use. Don't do that. Do it this way. Right. So the one other bit of notation is that we can write this notation with gamma matrix is really kind of a basket-ized notation, and I will sometimes write it entirely without a sigma or a gamma faster. That's what these things all mean. Really, is a sigma matrix inserted, and in fact, it's some more younger and more modern people also like to use the notation where there's no pluses and minuses at all, but where you just write the bracket and the angle, something like u or g minus, of course. If you have pluses, then you just split the bracket and the angle product. Is there anything here that you did not see this morning? Great. Okay, so the spinor product has a number of useful properties. So it's antisymmetric, as you might expect for any good kind of spinor object. And of course, immediately means that you take the spinor product of some mass momentum itself, you get 0. I realize that no one here is confused, so I'm going to say the following thing anyway, just in case. These are bosonic objects. There's nothing Grassmannian here. Minus signs do not come from Grassmann algebra. It's perfectly true that these arise most naturally. Spinors arise most naturally as wave functions for fermions, but they don't have to have anything to do with fermions, and this is a result of their structure, not a result of any Grassmann type in there. So there's a number of other identities. So for example, we can reconstruct the momentum out of these spinors. Of course, that's just this equation written out in a different notation. And we've seen the clear plate identity, I think, which is just the general simple SC2 form of the general. So we sum over mu here, sum over sigma mu. And finally, finally, there's the problem identity, which is just the fact that three in general, n plus 1 S1 tensors in n dimensions are not dependent in the two-dimensional version of that statement, just that we can rearrange pairs, and this, in practice, is the most useful identity for analytically simplifying expressions along with momentum conservation. And of course, there's similar identities for the bracket product, this is one for the angle product. We've also seen the spinor helicity representation, the so-called Chinese magic, due to Zhu Zhang and Chang in 1984, which is really a very elegant and covariant generalization of circular polarization. So this tells us basically how to put in an explicit representation that leaves out the remaining information that is really not physical. So we have to introduce a reference momentum. And so the momentum of the gluon K and Q is a null momentum, but it's not collinear with the momentum of this one. And using it, we can write down a representation for the polarization vector, for the positive helicity and for the negative helicity. And you can easily check that it's transferred to the K side into either one of these two dimensions. It should be completely obvious. The normalization is such that the normalized property for circular polarization, if you dot one into the other, then you get either 1 or minus 1. And I want you to observe one other thing. Of course, you can compute this by using the field function. Note that if you dot, let's say, the positive helicity polarization vector into itself, you get 0. So, not really a requirement, but that's what happens. I just want you to store that little fact in your mind. Yes, this Q doesn't, at this point in time, you can think of it as a real momentum. You'll notice that you're using both of the you're actually only using one of the spinors in each of the polarization vectors. And so that, for example, Tim was talking about this morning, when you do a phase rotation, then these transform by phase, and of course they transform by the same phase, so that the choice, the transformation of the reference point doesn't affect your measurement of the helicity of either of these two vectors. So from that point of view, there's some coupling. So let's just think of it as a real vector. So you've seen that if I change Q for Q prime, that amounts to an on-shell gauge transformation. I'll pick up a term that's proportional to mu, and of course that term, if I'm computing some on-shell quantity, will ultimately give 0, so that in some physical amplitude, it doesn't actually matter what Q I think. If I pick something that's not collinear with K, I'll get the same answer. I can pick Q in such a way as to maximize, if I'm still doing thermal diagrams, maximize the cancellations. And of course, if you sum over velocities, you get a light cone projector. And there are a number of other simplifications that you've seen. I don't know if Pierre Paolo gave you any exercises or not, but here's one that I would suggest to exercise your understanding of the various simplifications, the various properties of the helicity representation. So consider A4 is either 1 negative helicity or 2 negative helicity. And finally, this is sort of part A and B, and part C is compute the remaining helicity amplitude, but without doing any diagrams at all. So, you did it this morning? Well, I guess you can't do it for yourself, but you should do it for yourself quietly anyway. Not looking at your notes this morning, just to make sure that you understood. I should mention that there is a Mathematica implementation, which has both analytic and numerical, one of which is called the SAM, and which in fact is due to Pierre Paolo and Gianni Alvarez. So I don't know if he did you mention that? Right, so I think some others. Okay, are there any questions about helicity representation? I had it written down all the properties, but I think you have them in the notes this morning. I just wanted to remind you of that. Here. There. Okay, so let's do a little calculation. So, some of you may think that those objects, those local amplitudes are simply objects that we calculate, but that's not so true. They're simply objects. And the simple objects that we can calculate, we're going to calculate right now, is a Bitcoin amplitude. So, we started with remember there's a cyclically symmetric version of the vertex. There's only one diagram to do, so that should be pretty simple. As you say, I won't do it for you here, but it is possible to derive the form of this vertex just on general considerations of Poincare investments and in power counting. So in fact, you don't really need a Lagrangian at all, but here I think it's nice to see the connection to Lagrangian, so let's do that. So we're going to choose the same reference momentum for all light on Q, on one of these momentum. And remember that we have the same helicity and the same reference momentum that the dot product of polarization vectors matches. So there's actually only two terms that we have to compute, and that's avoid generating too much feedback from the microphone, then we'll actually manage to get through it. So we can use momentum conservation to rewrite the vertex in this form. I think this root is probably missing in the diagram form, but it is actually there. So there's actually two terms that we need to compute. And let's just substitute in the helicity representation, and then we're going to use the Phillips identity over here. Here's just put that momentum in the middle. There's nothing you can think of it as using the Phillips identity, but it's kind of a very trivial way. So then we're just going to get pi. And after fusing, we get something, of course, whose absolute value is 1, which is exactly what we expect. It's just a pure phase. And have this form in case 2.3. And let's see here. Okay, right form. And the square root of 2 cancels between here and there, so there's no more square root of 2 left over. That you can adjust, of course, by adjusting the normalization of the charge matrices, but any sensible person would, of course, choose the normalization to be just alpha to d, that there are spurious, superfluous, I should say, factors of 2 or square root of 2 all running around. We have the second term, which now is the first factor is from epsilon 3 dot epsilon 1. And yes, Q is the mean matrix. I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I should all of them be the same. In particular, you might say here, I can choose two different ones, but you can simplify the statement of the algebra to keep them the same. And I really do want to pick it to be the same here, because then I can take advantage of the fact that when you have the same velocity, the same reference momentum, the dot product of polarization that you vanish. So instead of having these three terms, I can choose two. Okay, it's no big deal, but basically, calculation writing the blackboard. So now just put in the K3 dot S12. And I can go higher, I'll hide that. So we can now pull out, there's of course common factors in various places, and we can pull that out. And I'm looking at what we can get to find, okay? So the other thing we can go ahead and do is to just use momentum. Notice there's an angle product of 1, 2 over here. Well, we can do momentum conservation here, but let's use it over here so you can put this in the form, and we also have an angle product of 1, 2 there. So then we're going to get over Q2, and of course I can cancel the factors of Q2 over here. Once I use momentum conservation, I'll be able to cancel the factors of brackets Q1. So I'll be left with a slightly simpler formula. So I have the 1, 2 brackets in the denominator. And here I have Q1, Q1, 2, and then a 2Q. And we can now pull out this factor of 1, 2. So let me not rewrite the whole line. Let me just do that. Just going to be a minus line here. And then that's going to come here. So it's 2, 1, 2. Now, of course, I can put these over a common denominator, so then I'm going to get Q2 and a 1Q. And notice that, of course, this is exactly Q.K2 and Q.K1. And I can then use momentum conservation to exceed 1 plus 2 for minus Q3. And so when the dust settles from that, then I, of course, then can take advantage of the message right down here, Q3. And so I'm going to Q3 squared, I'm going to have a Q3, and Q3, I'm going to have a 1 bracket 1Q, and a bracket Q2, and a factor of 1, 2. And of course I can cancel this. Okay, so this is a little bit strange because this is a physical on-shell amplitude, and we're expecting this thing to be gauge invariance. Yet we see there's still a remaining Q left over. So we think, okay, if I change Q to Q prime, if I change, something must be wrong here. But as it turns out, we can work a little bit harder. So we can multiply, for example, by, we can multiply, let's say, by 3, 2, and divide by 3, 2. And we can get another factor of Q3, which we can multiply that one, let's say, by 3, 1. And then we have a 3, 1 in the numerator. We now use momentum conservation again. So we get a 2 over here. Well, that's good, because that will now cancel this up to the sign. And then we use momentum conservation over here. Another factor of 1, 2. And this will now cancel us another sign. And we can now rearrange all these into the same form, and we find that we get 1, 2 cubed over 2, 3, 3, 1, that's 9. So this thing is manifestly gauge invariant. And I think you've also seen the general form of that already before. So the general form is to have the amplitude with 2 negative ellipses and some arbitrary number of positive ellipse equivalents. So this is exactly the same structure. Of course, there's a conjugate formula for A with 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus, where you have instead of the angle product, you have the bracket product. And if we were to choose, if we had all three ellipses identical, then every term has an epsilon dot epsilon. So there we clearly want to choose the same reference momentum. And we're just going to get 0. So we now computed all the 3 points of velocity amplitude, and we find the answer for these, and 0 is the other scale. Okay, you want me to have the power formula, let me multiply and divide by another power. So, I guess that makes it a little bit clearer, just one, so that that's fine.
Why do we need to use the transitional square gauge layers?
Well, there's, of course, many ways of computing amplitude, and the phase of the amplitude actually is dependent a little bit on representation. It's not something really physical. Let's say the pure overall phase of the amplitude. But the reason we need the Q in the way we're taking is that we want to use the standard holistic representation of the polarization vectors. And in a more abstract sense, even if you didn't want to use this Chinese magic, but you wanted some other representation of the polarization vectors, if you think about it, what a vector is naturally representing is actually 3 polarizations. So we need some way of projecting out that third polarization which doesn't belong there. And we need something that's different from the momentum in order to do that projection. And that thing that is different is Q. So in some moral sense, some abstract sense, we need something like Q. Now, if it exactly has to be a 4 vector, I'm not sure if you can do other things, but probably the simplest way to do it. So we have the results for what really is the simplest amplitude. In fact, it's something that I won't derive, but I'll just tell you, is that, and that's a considerably more complicated calculation to do, unless you can do it on a clever method, in gravity. The analogous three-point amplitude is just the same square. And
so what is very powerful enough to come from being endpoint imaging, right?
you can think of it as being the power needed. Well, there's different ways of understanding it. The power that's needed to get the image right, the power that's needed to get the right behavior of the amplitude under eliciting transformations. It's playing many different ways.
What does it mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's also related to power counting. It's a little bit tricky to talk about the dependent number of dimensions because there are scenario representations also in space, and they exist in 10 dimensions, although I'm not sure how they are for practical calculations, but it's not as though the parameters tune continuously the way you would a dimensional regularization for the amplitude. Well, at tree level, actually, you know you have the same dimension for this object. But in terms of the natural, the problem is that what does change in 10 dimensions is the notion of listening by listening. This isn't a meaningful refinement description of the final state anymore. And in a sense, there's additional velocities which would have to correspond to actual scalars in 4 dimensions. Sure. So let's think a little bit about our three-point amplitude. So there's something a little bit strange though, which is that let's think a little bit about the kinematics involved here. So we know that we have three-particle kinematics, but all the lights are massless. And that means that you can write the following equation. So in other words, K1 and K2 are collision. So all these invariant mass. That means that all the center products are zero. Actually, first of all, we didn't talk about it. So, it's actually the form of 0. Now, in fact, if you look at these zeros, then you see that it's actually 0 and that's generally a dangerous way of evaluating these questions, but I can tell you, in this case, it actually turned out to be correct, and the answer is actually 0. So this is a little bit of a puzzle. I told you that you can derive everything. I tell you, you can derive everything from all three amplitudes, from all three amplitudes, from all three amplitudes, not with 3 points. And so, now you're believing that I told you I can derive everything from 0. Which, going forward, seems really bad. So what can we do? Well, one thing we can observe is that there's really no reason we have to take these guys to be complex conjugates of each other. So what we've done now is we've taken I plus to be essentially I minus constant sign that's related to the sign at the end. But there's no reason we have to do this. Effective conditions for momentum conservation that take one or the other of these statements to be true. So in other words, another way of saying that is that this statement still has to be true. You still have to have K1 dot K2 equals 0. And that means that you better have this statement. Anyway, the angle product of 1, 2 times the bracket product of 1, 2 times the dash. But all that says is that 1, 2 is the angle product or bracket product. So we don't have both of them. And if we take the momentum complex, then we can have one of them dashing without the other dashing. So remember, just a few minutes ago, I asked you to store in your mind the fact that F1 plus in the standard velocity representation squared is 0. It's most certainly a complex object, because it's the outer product of two complex vectors that are unrelated, two complex spinors that are unrelated, Q and K. And so it's exactly an example of the kind of thing that we're looking for. We're looking for on-shell vectors that complex. Basically, everything that we're going to do from now on, we want in general to take this vector to be complex. And if you think about it, then you can see that if you share a reference momentum to a different momentum, for example, then this statement is still true. It's still true because we're going to get, after doing the first transformation, we're going to get an angle product of 2 and that's even the bracket product of the case and so on. So now when we do that, and we go back, then if we chosen, for example, the bracket product to vanish, then this is perfectly well defined. It's just something complex. You've already seen that this equation is the general, is a specific 3-point form of the general equation. And these are the so-called Artaylor equations, which in their form, because they were actually written down by Taylor, which is another example of Arnold's theorem in action. We have 3 of those basically telling us that if all the velocities are identical, we get 0. For the one object velocity, then we again get 0. And if there's 2 negative velocities, then we have that coordinate form. Characteristic equation. This form again does hold even for a rating to slow down a little bit, this point is actually violated. Right? So this is only true for greater than or equal to 4. And that violation has to do precisely with the ability to evade the constraints of vanishing invariance by making only one or other flavors of their product to success. So the next thing I want to do is to start on the first of an on-shell method. And we've already introduced complex momenta that would be important to the on-shell method. And the claim indeed is that with this 3-point amplitude, which we now have a non-vanishing form for using complex momenta, we can in fact reconstruct all 3-level amplitudes. So again, here I'm showing you the gluon one, and you can reconstruct all 3 level gluon amplitudes. You add it in the fermion, the other one with the general equal to a form, you can do all of those amplitudes. So the basic idea in the on-shell method is that we start with the basic ingredient is 3-point amplitude. Use only information from on-shell physical state. So the way I derive the 3-point amplitude for you, you actually make use of Lagrangian as a Lagrangian, which is not the 3-point line number text, but the definition one can actually get around that and simply derive it from general considerations of Poincare invariance for the only kind of objects like symmetries, and using then sort of a simple-minded factorization property of the 4-point amplitude, you can show that, again, no hash is the only possible one for spin 1. So you actually need the Lagrangian. But here we do. And another key idea is to take general property into calculation. And the first such property that we're going to talk about very briefly today, and probably come back and study a little bit more tomorrow, is factorization. And what we're going to use it for is to provide the so-called DCFW for those other things. I'll show the first generation of this. It probably doesn't surprise anyone to know that the Cacciato here is the same Cacciato was lecturing later. So it's a general result in quantum field theory that for example, if you're looking at some amplitude and let's say some 1 0 1 going to some number of some final state, that if we have some intermediate pole and the momenta of the initial state approaches that intermediate pole, then the amplitude will drive. We'll get the intermediate state. The intermediate state will propagate for some amount of time, and then ultimately the intermediate state will decay into whatever it's supposed to. Of course, I'm thinking about this in a closely invariant language, so really if I have 2 or that matter, if I have more particles whose mass approaches some intermediate state, I'm going to get a factorization to 2 amplitudes along with the propagation of that intermediate state for a long amount of time. As you get close to the pole for an arbitrarily long amount of time, assuming that the state is doesn't have a width. And of course, this mass doesn't exist, because you're thinking about factorization on one. That's what we want to do. So, as you know, in fact, case theory is really the way it works at this level. Things are a little bit more subtle. And we can draw a diagrammatic picture. So let's think about what happens, for example, we have some amplitude with green color taking place, and some other things. So as we approach the configuration where the sum of these becomes null, right? We have each of the 2-particle invariants not be null. I'll leave you a minute to think about how that might be possible. Then we get a factorization into the 4-point amplitude times pole times an amplitude that has 2 fewer external legs, because momentum is given by the sum of momentum here. So the sum of KA, KC, and KC. Again, these are understood to be on the I guess, so this is a complete string amplitude. We'll come back next time and look at a specific example of how this works, but I want to get started on the CSW iterations today. Now, I started with 3 points, 3-point factorization rather than 2-point factorization. Is that, again, 2-point factorization is a little bit more subtle. So we're working with real momenta. This would now be a 3-point amplitude. It would vanish. I would now have a 0 over an infinity. And that's an object which can actually resolve into a object. Fortunately, if we're working in complex momenta, then everything works the same way. And if we have 2 out of the 3 here, we can factor into a 3-particle amplitude of the whole, and the amplitude of this case with 1 fewer external legs. So again, we should be taking entirely in terms of complex. So if you haven't already realized, then that means, of course, that if one of the bodies of energy has the opposite sign, the big sign of energy A has the opposite value of the clearly one of the same sign of energy, then there's really two states that's not going to go together. But that's, of course, possible to have one of the particles in the initial state and the others in the final state. So let's skip a little bit of discussion of factorization, which we'll come back to. And we get started on the CSW, right? How do you know over and over? And I try not to look too much here for about another 20 minutes or so. So it's not urgent reason for needing to leave, so I'll be back. So what we want to do is introduce a combat parameter. And we're going to do it as follows. We're going to do a shift of the spinners. We have spinners that are associated with each of the external momentum. And I'm going to shift them as follows. I'm going to replace J minus, J minus, right, and the times the other spinner. And I'm going to replace L plus by L plus plus C times the first spinner. What does that do to spinner products, which are things that are also computing in terms of, well, you replace them with bracket products of AJ, something where I track off J times AL to nothing, the angle product. And conversely, for AL, you take shift the angle product counting now proportional to A, the spinner, and just nothing to the bracket product. So we shifted these spinners, and that means that we're also necessarily shifting the external momentum. So KJ now shifts something called J hat, more or less consistently to denote the shifted momentum. Now a function of the parameter C, which is given by the original momentum, shifted by what you'll recognize as the null complex vector. And similarly, KL, which is KL hat, KL, which is KL plus C over 2 times J minus the same null vector. So the first thing that we consider is that the momentum are still constant. Because what we get, well, let's square out this object together, KJ together. There's a constant C times J, KJ. Now, finally, there's this vector squared, multiplied by E squared 2. Well, this I already know is phase the same as E plus, epsilon plus the equalization vector, but as negative plus. There we're going to get the J, the angle product J times J, and the angle product of itself, so this is 0. Here the vanishing is only linear, but good enough because the angle product of J and J, so this thing goes to 0, this thing of course is 0 to it, so shifted like this illusion. The other thing that we can note is that if we take the sum of KJ hat and KL hat, then of course we're just going to add these two together, and this term will again be the same vector. So we're going to get KJ plus KL. So what I do is look at this. So we take the particle system and momentum. Of course, if I were to take a partial sum of momentum, let's say KJ and KJ minus 1, and that was not J minus 1, then that would shift it. That's good. Because once you change up to go, then it's the same. Of course, we have to get that. So we have when we shifted the spinners, we shifted the momentum, and our amplitudes are functions of the spinners, and they're on a linear basis, but it's just a function of the spinners and plus or minus. And so the amplitude, our amplitude is also now a function. And I'd like to make the assumption that, once the show is holds for a wide variety of choices, a series of choices of shifts, but for now let's just make the assumption that after we take the infinity, the complex matters, and let it go off the infinity of the complex plane, the amplitude dash doesn't really matter how fast it dashes, some polynomial way. And so we want to consider a construct. So let's consider the following construct. So we're going to remove the 2 pi I that comes from changing revenues, and we're going to take two integral round circles for A of C divided by C, and that circle C is the circle infinity. So all the C here, A of C is going to 0, and there's another power of C, so this thing is actually integrable. You can see that it's bounded by something that's C1 over C squared, so this thing's 2. So we have a vanishing contour integral. And now we're going to go ahead and evaluate my revenues. So the first thing we have to figure out is why the hell am I asking me to consider this object? So I pull this thing out of the hat, and I pull the shift out of the hat, shift it close to the table. It's the objective. So we're going to do that idea. But where did this integral come from? Well, there's one residue, which is sitting at equal 0. So what this equation says is that A of 0 plus the sum of any other pole of A of the residue at that pole should be equal to 0. Well, this already explains to us at least why we want to think about this equation. Because A of 0, A of 0 is our original amplitude. Of course, if we set A equal to 0, then we're back to the original momentum integration. And that's exactly our original amplitude. So now we have an equation for our amplitude, admittedly in terms of the set of things, which looks very weird in connection. Anything is obvious, but patience gets most questions. We're not working it out. That's correct. And extend some of this technology to root level, but at the moment there's no general theory of it, not because of the issue of rest, that we take care of, but because of this subject enhancing understanding of analog point equations, that's what I got to do. Show those. Now, that actually you can evade onto general but that if you're interested in that, I can probably track down something that literally track down using Inspire. It's not relevant to the core of the idea here. There are lots of poles in AFC. I haven't evaluated this thing yet. So I'm I said is that we have to get down the fold of A3, and we have to evaluate the resonance. We haven't done that yet. So let's take things one step at a time. But what we have done is written an equation that says that we have a solution for A0, A0, 0. In terms of a bunch of other stuff, it's not clear what that is, but just be patient. You can answer the patient tomorrow. That's good, but I'm going to be patient for today. It's not like one of these things that has lots of learning where you find some equation, something you don't know, and you write it in terms of a whole bunch of other stuff that you don't know, so I calculate. That's not very useful. Okay, so in fact, we've all asked, where are the poles usually? Very much. Where are they? Well, let's think about this. So let's think, and even if we don't want to use it for calculating, sometimes for general argumentation, for abstract calculations, it's still useful to think in terms of quantum mechanics. What we know is that there are, well, there's poles in Z that might come from from the inner products that go into the polarization vector. So actually, that's not the case later, but they might come from any other sources. Of course, we can have one inside the denominator. So basically, the one class of poles that most people are going from propositions. So now let's just start, let's just run down some diagrams. So we have A diagrams. This comes from amplitude, this comes from propagator, and the rest of the diagrams on the other side of the propagator. So there's two basic cases we can consider. The first case is where, I don't remember right now, J and L are sitting on the same side. And one thing we know for sure is this momentum involves KJ plus KL, but that sum is independent of V. So this propagator is with. And whatever it is, however complicated it may be, there ain't no Z there, so there's no point. The other situation that we have is where J and L are opposite sides of the propagator. So if we look at some diagram, this is the propagator we're fixating on. L and J are opposite sides, then this depends on V. So that's a good point, because it depends on V. V, different people can run all over the complex plane. So any polynomial equation has, right, we're saying that denominator will have a solution, therefore there is a pole. So that tells us something about what happens to the sum. So basically we just need to scratch the local factors, put these factors this form is, of course, not in the form C-minus whole, so it's one of the values back in the front. C-minus A. And minus the time rate is 2. Of course, if we were to go on to change those terms, but we're not using the A of the relation. Well, so the rest of the is very simple. Take the one factor of here. The residue is very simple. Take. Because just take the coefficient of the term of here they are. And the other thing to notice is that CAD times the oriental complex product level, so the denominator for that product is remarkably enough. Just the naive momentum flowing through that channel, the unshifted momentum flowing through that channel. That thing, of course, is nowhere near forward, just some momentum invariance squared, some non-zero quantity, but it's the naive thing flowing through there. So that's the residue. And that's it. So notice that, of course, we have factorized these two legs on one side, and have at least a 3-point amplitude here. So each of these amplitudes, AL and AR, has fewer external legs than our original amplitude. So we've written the amplitude in terms of a functional object that has fewer external legs. Of course, we can iterate the procedure and ultimately get down to something that just has a 3-point amplitude in it. And I'll show you a simple example of how that works next time around. The only twist is that these have to be evaluated in the complex values of the external momentum. They're not the original external momentum. They're shifted into the complex plane by some amount determined by this equation. And we can diagrammatically, if we imagine, for example, the JL on n minus 1 n, then we can write this identity, this recursion relation, Austrian recursion relation, in the following form. Single sum of the legs, the other labels. So if there's a form where I have things to be taken, so there's no that is not necessary, so now it's going to have a linear number of legs. In practice, that's generally the thing to do. You can minimize the number of terms, but conceptually it's not special. So we like to write that in terms of lower point amplitude. So that have the product each term is a product of two lower point amplitudes and I use propagator. Of course, the thing that I haven't mentioned, but this amplitude always has some over all possible eternal states that either, in our case, even if we're looking at through one, that means it's a positive and negative velocity. And the one subtlety is that all these amplitudes, we're working in exhausting across language where everything is nothing goes to n. That means that when the momentum are directed outwards, so over here things are going opposite direction. Remember, when you flip the sign of the momentum, you're also flipping the velocity. So the velocity is descending over So we start with having a 3-point amplitude over here, and so I have the 3-point amplitude over there. These are also amplitudes with the external legs shifted into the complex plane, and we'll come back and discuss this a little bit more in an example, and we'll do a little bit more discussion of factorization tomorrow afternoon. But if there are any urgent questions on, I know I've the urgent questions on the BCSW relations thing, now is the time to ask them. So let me have a mic. That's just tracking through time. We've actually plugged this back into the equation here, so another minus sign will actually come here. I mean, there's a little bit of this. That minus sign cancels this minus sign, so the thing that you ultimately end up with just has I over the naive propagator denominator in the middle here times 2 amplitudes. So we have a variety of patterns of answers we can have. So the boxes, like, that are different, So we have a massive external leg, similar to line. Obviously, this line does not have half-life bubbles. In the solid organization, yes, correct. So let's actually just take a quick look at one of these integrals for left here, right over here. So this is the so-called EV mass box. It's called EV for historical reasons because you can actually derive a finite computation which can be integrated to lower than epsilon very easily. Epsilon stands for the hard mass box. Here, where it is named. So this is integrated dimensional regularization. So 4 minus epsilon mentions there's 4 propagators. Did I say the way that you do this template to do a finite computation? You do a clever one actually where you combine opposite lines first and then combine the results, and that gives you an expression you can integrate in terms of hydrodynamic functions, and you can expand that epsilon, you discover that you have the leading term is 1 over epsilon squared, or at least it appears to be 1 over epsilon squared. 1 over epsilon squared is a virtual correction coming from an overlap of soft and linear singularities. Linear singularities, remember thinking back to the first lecture where we saw them in the emission context. The virtual context they appear as epsilon. Likewise, the soft singularities in principle, when they overlap, you get 1 over epsilon squared, and that's a generic feature of the H theory. Every organization theory, the leading singularity will have an additional power 1 over epsilon squared. And I say appears to because actually in this particular integral, if you start expanding these objects in epsilon, you see that 1 plus 1 minus 1 minus 1, so in fact the leading singularity. And that's not actually all that surprising. We have a little bit more time to go through it. So in fact, the leading singularity here is going to be the logarithm of, let's say, f over x squared divided by epsilon. That's really just a linear logarithm. In addition to logarithms of certain functions, there's some here. There's time present. There's also a dialogue. Does everyone here know what a dialogue is? Who doesn't know what a dialogue is? Who doesn't know what a dialogue is? Okay. So learn to like polylogarithms, the dialogues are the simplest of these functions. They essentially iterated logarithmic integrals. So you get like this doing a dt over t integral, then at each point of x to 1. But here, if you essentially iterate that integral, then you'll get a dialogue. If you iterate it further, you get phi log, and so on and so forth. And you can also get generalized ones, which I won't show you here with a multiple argument. And you can measure integration in multiple directions. So there's a variety of dialogues. The other thing feature that's worth pointing out is that there's this kind of strange looking denominator, and this is not a hole. So you're wondering, what is this object doing here? After all, at tree level, we're expecting only holes to show up as singularities. And okay, this doesn't make things a little bit different, diffraction, and so on and so forth, but it just appears to be a kind of singularity. In fact, it's not really there. And you can see, for example, one of the things about the dialogue is that you can see if I take x to 0, your dialogue is 0 is 0. And you'll notice that if I combine terms here, that the numerator is exactly what appears in the denominator. So this dialogue vanishes when this vanishes. So in fact, in this term, for example, that singularity is spurious. And you can use dialogue identity to show that it's also spurious elsewhere. So in fact, the term inside braces, by ordering the epsilon squared, will vanish when this object vanishes. So this is an example of a spurious singularity. It seems to be there, but it's not actually there when you expand it. And like all of these things, sometimes the cancellations can be more intricate than different things. Okay, so let's follow the so this is the EV2 mass box. And if you look at the picture, actually I drawn it here with M1 and M3, but if you label 1, 2, 3, 4, then M2 and M4 is the masses of the 2 massive legs in this box. So this is similar. You can explicitly here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, 1 and 3 are massless legs, and 2 and 4 massive legs. So M2 squared is simply the yeah, so for example, in this case, M2 squared equals to K2 squared, and M4 squared equals to K4 squared. K equals to K1, 2, 3 squared. Okay, so that's the sense of integrals. And our goal is to identify the coefficients of each of these integrals. What we were able to do last time is we looked at a certain kind where we're calculating the feature propagators. And of course, those 2 propagators, there can be a variety of boxes that should allow from here to here. So a couple of these boxes will show up from these boxes in addition. A triangle will show up from the whole as well. On the other hand, there'll be some integrals that, for example, can't show up. So I'll be picking out the subset of them when I'm doing reduction algebra. That's analogous to finite tensor reduction. You do a Feynman diagram in order to isolate the coefficients of each integrals. Now, today we want to go beyond that. First, though, we should just think a little bit about the roles of dimensional regularization. Again, more of a kind of conceptual understanding. So the claim is that using working dimensional regularization, we're going to be able to extract these higher amplitudes. It's essentially a very sophisticated way of doing dispersion relations. It's true that I'm not actually doing dispersion explicitly, but implicitly I'm going from a base integral to an integral. And if you think back to the original version 0 of the Unitarian method, then there was this contraction constant. And that contraction constant was associated with the fact that the ultraviolet is then ultraviolet bigger than the ultraviolet divergence of the object that we're trying to integrate. So the first thing that dimensional regularization is doing for us is extracting QP regulation. And in standard fashion, so once you work in dimensional regularization, they're not just the training of the that's one of the that's not 0. It is actually a large but finite number. The thing that's actually more important about are taken away by the national organization. Now, there's also slightly more down-to-earth way of looking at that. If you remember again, the version 0 concept of the entirety was going from a branch consciousness to a logarithm. So we're constructing a explicit part from an associative part. And, well, the integrals are fine. All the integrals have branch consciousness. So you can see once we remove the subtraction ambiguity, how it is we'll be able to quickly reconstruct the logarithm depending or the bilogarithm from branch consciousness. But what about rational terms? Rational terms clearly don't have branch consciousness. How am I getting a handle on how it is? You're not going to have time to see that explicitly, but if you do the entirety for my expression dimension, certainly get into it. And so the answer is that when we're working in dimensional regularization, of course, we have to change the dimension of the company. We're shifting slightly away from 4 dimensions. And what implements that is assembling is visibility somehow or some invariant is like that's wrong in concept process. So whatever the amplitude was, whatever the expression was in 4 dimensions, there's going to be an additional factor minus that epsilon plus. Of course, that factor is not going to be inherent. It's going to give rise to a variety of logarithms, which are important in terms of theorizing and things like that. So